So I'm Michelle Ahdoot, for those of you that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. I'm the Director of Programming and Strategy at End Jew Hatred. So just to give you quick background as to what End Jew Hatred is, and it's essentially, one is that we are a Jewish civil rights movement, and I'm going to talk a lot about what that means. But as far as a 501c3 goes, we are a project of the Lawfare Project. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Lawfare Project. Brooke Goldstein founded the Lawfare Project. It's a civil rights litigation fund, Jewish civil rights litigation fund. So the Lawfare Project is the 501c3 that funds End Jew Hatred and everything associated with it. The Lawfare Project deals with courtroom, so legal issues when Jew hatred crosses over into the legal realm, when institutional change is needed, by law. We take care of obviously all of the victims and plaintiffs pro bono, so no cost to the plaintiffs. And the Lawfare Project attorneys right now, there are 5 full-time attorneys, but the network I think is up to about 1,500 attorneys at law firms, etc., partner firms that will, do reduced rate pro bono work on our cases. So cases span not just college campuses and not just United States. The Lawfare Project is an international civil rights litigation firm. So there's both international and national cases, anywhere from campus students that need representation in order to really create its impact litigation. So the reason, the outcome that is wanted from cases, whether it's in a hospital, if a plaintiff is a doctor that was, just horrifically just wronged of his civil rights, or a student on campus, or a corporation. The goal is impact litigation, so to see institutionalized change as a result of the verdict. So whether it is getting, at a college campus, it could look like part of the settlement agreement incorporating a new head of, let's just say, Jewish civil rights at a campus that didn't exist before, to then really ensure that the future of that university is going to look better for Jewish students and faculty. So that's the Lawfare Project, and they do incredible work. And then End Jew Hatred, which is what I just live, breathe, and don't sleep dealing with, is the Jewish civil rights movement piece of things. So when things don't cross over that line of, something is illegal, but that something is not right and not justified, and we need to stand up for our rights, that's where we come into place. So we push the needle as much as we can to apply real pressure to affect social change. So social change and social impact as it relates to Jew hatred. So that could look, it's a bunch of different ways. It could manifest itself in getting out on the ground and rallying and protesting. For instance, just this past Wednesday, we rallied outside the Sephora flagship store in New York City, because one of our campaigns has been against Huda Beauty. Huda Katan, we know, is a horrific Jew hater. So we have different sort of spokes on the wheel when it comes to what we call campaigns. So let's just use Sephora as an example. So we have the on-the-ground piece, and to ensure that the on-the-ground piece works well, we have different chapters in different areas, and everything is run via WhatsApp. So we have WhatsApp chapters within the US. We actually now also have a UK chapter and a France chapter. And with these chapters, the goal is to give the activists real free rein to be activists and be empowered, and let us know if there's something going on the ground in their specific areas. And then the End Jew Hatred team is here to get them materials they might need to protest. They know that we always have the Lawfare Project attorneys if something crosses over into that legal realm. So it's sort of that 1-2 punch, but the goal is empowering activism within all the different areas. So using Sephora again as an example, we had the on-the-ground piece, but the on-the-ground piece was after heavy-duty digital campaigns that we ran. So I know I'm sort of going all over the place, but it all makes sense in that the spokes of the wheel, we have digital activism as well, because, one of our key mottos, I guess you could say, is that everybody is an activist. So some people might not feel comfortable, and it's not my place to say you need to get out on the ground. You need to stand there with a sign and a megaphone like I do. And, it's not for everybody. And that's okay. In a perfect world, I would hope that everybody realizes when, we reach the boiling point that we're at, that on the ground activism will come out. But if not, it's okay. We offer other ways for people to be activists. And one huge way post 10/7 is digital activism. So, what digital activism looks like, which I think most of you are involved in our End Jew Hatred Action Items groups. We have an Act 7 End Jew Hatred Action Item group. What that looks like, we work in coordination. It's End Jew Hatred along with other amazing WhatsApp group leaders. So there's a group called Pens for Swords. There's an amazing UK, I don't think Tabitha's on here, but the UK group. There's a group called Lions for Zion. And we all use, I don't think Tabitha in the UK uses the same group of writers, but we have a group of amazing volunteer attorneys and researchers that we dip into the second that an issue comes. So again, we could use Sephora as the example here. When we heard a couple of months ago the whole issue with Sephora, we farm the situation out to our writers. Somebody volunteers, God bless them, and takes this on. And it's not just a slapstick email that they're putting together. They're doing heavy duty research, making sure that, legally everything that they're claiming makes sense and is on point, footnotes, references, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have a whole group of, again, volunteers, tech people. So tech people that are then getting that into a link, first researching all the emails of the targets that this needs to go out to. We typically also CC elected officials in the area. And many times now when we also do, for instance, care-related messages, we do a lot of government email campaigns. So we make sure that the House Ed and Workforce is CC'd on it, that, all the relevant players to get them the information so they see what's going on. So back to Sephora, we got this campaign started. We got a letter campaign out. It's important to note that once that link is made, we get that link out via WhatsApp to our groups, and we have a combined reach between Ends Jew Hatred and Lions for Zion and Pens for Swords. And now I think we're up to about 50,000 people we're getting that link out to. And it's an easy click, sign, apply pressure. Just, we try to make activism as easy as we can. And it's activism, but also to me, I think it's astounding how we're informing people of what is going on. So many people have gotten back to us just saying, not just that they're clicking and signing, but they're realizing and learning from these letters because it's, really a wealth of information in each one. So in terms of Sephora, we got one email campaign out. And I would say, I think that usually our numbers hover around 10 to 15,000 people sending out the letter. We're not getting 50,000 people sending it out, but I still take comfort knowing that people are hopefully reading and getting educated and could spread the word. The Huda Beauty situation, it's not a low-hanging fruit, that's a high-hanging fruit. This is a sustained campaign because we know what Sephora has to lose. Money's at stake, but we won't stop. So we've done so far 3 email campaigns, updated emails, combined with social media, and now combined with the on the ground. So we rallied outside the flagship Sephora the other day. The goal is, one, to educate customers walking in, obviously, and with the hopes of press picking it up, getting social media attention, and just getting word out. And in this situation, we've also told everybody, we've put call outs to all of our activists in all of our chapters, go rally outside of Sephora in your location. We'll get you the signage you need. We'll get you chance to say. So again, that's that concept of making everything turnkey for everyone to be activists. So that's one example. But in terms of digital activism, I mean, this could be as simple as, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like true wins. So you thought we could talk about wins. There's much more to come. I just wanted to give you sort of the overall view of social media. And Jew Hatred has our Instagram page, which we, educate and empower. Then we have digital activism, and then we have on the ground, and we also have campus fellows on college campuses, both in Canada and the United States as of now. And they're
Yeah.
really eyes and ears, for helping everybody on campus know what to do if they think that something was done that isn't right. If a professor said something or a syllabus says something, they're really the first line in defense to help all the students. So in terms of the way that we see things, there are little wins and there are big wins. But even the little wins that are helping to move the needle and help get people, active. And one big part of this is also motivation. So you know me, Fad, and I don't know, many of you that might be in our action groups. I aim to motivate. I aim to unite. I think you hit on something. If we don't have unity, we're nothing. So when I say unite, it's end Jew hatred is grassroots. So we're quick, we're nonstop, we're gritty, we're churning things out constantly. We don't have the red tape that a lot of the huge orgs have. If I told you how many people have reached out to us because they haven't gotten an answer from ADL, for instance, and then we're there for them. So the whole thing's crazy, but I'm not here to trash ADL. They do a lot of good things, research and numbers. So my point is, even a group like the ADL and End Jew Hatred, that we definitely vastly differ in the way that we're fighting this fight. At the end of the game, at the end, it's a race, and the finish line, we all want to get to the finish line. We might just differ in the way that we're running the race, and we still have to work together. So I think that's key. So I think that's a big part of winning. A big part of winning is for, realizing who does what well, and not stepping on each other's toes, and not having any ego in this game, because if there's ego, there's nothing. So not having ego, but figuring out, okay, even if we don't see eye to eye on everything, let's see what we do see eye to eye on and move forward. So that's one huge, huge thing. I think we're up against a mega, mega machine. No need, I think everyone here is informed, but mega machine that's been, in play for the past 20 or more years of indoctrinating the next generation. So it's something that is going to take, it's a bunch of things. It's the indoctrination, the Qatari influence. So this is, we've been bought essentially, to a certain extent. So we're up against a lot, but we have to just keep pushing back where we can and how we can in an intelligent way. So one big thing, I'm not sure if you know this, Yifat, but for everybody to know, one of our goals as a civil rights movement, as opposed to a pro-Israel organization, we know
Mm.
anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, full stop. But the way that we fight our fight at End Jew Hatred, we don't conflate Israel with Jew hatred. And I think that's very important to note. With us, we're fighting for Jewish civil rights. So we're fighting for somebody walking across the quad at Columbia University who's wearing a yarmulke should not get spit in his face by somebody calling him a Zionist baby killer. That's infringing on his Jewish civil rights. Forget anything else. Forget that he's a Zionist or not a Zionist. That's an infringement on Jewish civil rights. And Zionism is the oldest form, that's our ancestral, that's self-determination, right? But we don't train our fellows to argue the facts of Israel and 48 and 67, because when you're dealing with Jew hatred and civil rights, you have to keep in that lane of fighting that fight. And that's something it's important. And this actually is the brainchild of Brooke Goldstein, who's our founder, which took, even for me, it took a while to wrap my head around it. But it is a genius way to fight this fight. And it's a result of studying what other civil rights movements have done so well. She commissioned a deep dive study into what made Black Lives Matter tick and, really work so well. So by studying other movements, seeing what they did well, I think that's a key factor that people should know, that we incorporate when we fight this fight. What we did, we have, on April 29th, 3 years ago, we came up with End Jew Hatred Day. So the goal was, it was done in coordination with the Holocaust Museum in Rockland County, but the goal was a day to pause and recognize Jewish civil rights. So End Jew Hatred Day started out with 2 elected officials over there signing a proclamation. April 29th is End Jew Hatred Day, with a template of, exactly, the words behind that, what it means, etc., etc. It was Yom HaShoah the first year, and since then we've just kept that as the date on the calendar. But so from 2 elected officials the first year, obviously, Rome isn't built in a day, but this past year we expanded tremendously in that I believe we have now 70 elected officials, including in Canada, who have signed this proclamation. Not that it's an end all be all, of course, but it's something that our activists took to city council meetings, had city, I mean, even the New York City Council signed this, which is, it's just a big step. Governors have signed it, senators have signed it. And this proclamation, just to get it in a perfect world, I want April 29th on the national calendar. And we had people going to their city councils. We incorporated an education piece that we had individuals take it to their board of ed trustees and principals and administrators, asking them, and we provide a whole template of ask them to make a morning announcement, ask them to, say at the beginning of the board of ed meeting, April 29th. I'm only giving this as an example. It's not fighting BDS, but it's teaching people to be proactive, put forth a proactive resolution, put
Yeah.
forth something that can make a difference. In terms of BDS, I don't have the answer. And I see, Norman, that you wrote BDS is always billed as anti-Zionism, not anti-Semitism. 100% correct. And frankly, that's what we're seeing now everywhere. I mean, for goodness sake, just yesterday to me was just a gut punch of the UK, what's going on with their security force. I apologize, I'm forgetting the name, that they're banning Israelis from joining. Madrid, my daughter's in Madrid on a semester abroad now. Madrid yesterday, that horrible end to the cycling, whatever that cycling was, that they had to, because Israelis were riding. You name it, at the Emmy Awards, Javier Bardem. And I mean, it was just a gut punch on every level of how Israel is being weaponized and anti-Zionism is, not being conflated with anti-Semitism. And you have all of these useful idiots that are then saying, I don't hate Jews, but I disagree with what Israel is doing. And that's what we're trying to fight. And that's what we need to fight. And it's terrible, and it's getting only worse. Eurovision is another example. Yesterday was just 4 or 5 just horrific instances of seeing this magnify, and it just points more to why we need to stand up for ourselves, why we also need to recognize, frankly, that radical Islamism is a huge issue, and that this isn't just a Jewish issue, what's going on, and what this world is going to look like if we don't stand up and focus on all forms of radicalism and focus on what is going on in this ideology. We are in for, a horrific ride. And another thing to note is a big fight now of ours is K-12. We started an End Hate in Education campaign because we know we've been doing a lot of work on college campuses, but kindergarten through 12th grade, what is going on in schools is just horrific and is setting the stage for indoctrination and this horrible ideology to flourish. So that's where we're really going to use crowdsourcing. We have a website specific to K-12 that we put together, a web page. That's another thing. It's not like we have all these crazy hurdles to jump through to accept a collaboration. We want to amplify everyone. So if there's someone doing good work as simple as a grassroots org, a parent of a school that was at a board of ed meeting and wants us to help broadcast what was said at that board of ed meeting, we'll collab on a post like that because we want the world to see, we want people to see what's going on. And so for now, that's the best start. And of course, when it comes time more towards April 29th, we'd love to get people really involved in End Jew Hatred Day because it's an international, it really is an international initiative. So at that point, we could talk, in
Yeah.
February, March about
Put it
that
on.
and bring it up. But
Yeah.
so just, yeah, just get familiar with us. We're really here for all of you. We just want to act and really move the needle against Jew hatred. That's the goal. And it's hard, and we're all trying to do it. You're all trying to do it, and we have to just keep on keeping on because it's go time. These WhatsApp group leaders are just working 24/7 out of the goodness of their heart, churning out these letters and leading these groups. And I mean, and I say to them, we couldn't do what we're doing without them, so we're all in it together, and thank goodness we all found each other. And I know everyone always says it, but it's the truth. It's the one glimmer of, sort of silver lining on the horrific 10/7 debacle. Important to note, I'll leave you with this. End Jew hatred actually was around pre 10/7. We've been around since 2021, but to see how activism has changed post 10/7, we used to have to beg people to come out to a rally. We'd be lucky if we got 10 people, outside CUNY, outside Columbia in the city. We knew that, things were going on at Columbia pre 10/7. We knew about the professors there. We knew, but people didn't listen because they never, I don't think people, and I don't fault anyone, many people just didn't realize what was happening because it was boiling under the surface. And I think 10/7 brought it all to light. Within our lifetime is a perfect example. I'm sure you all know Wool Palestine now. Nurdine Kiswani, we've been tracking since 2020. She was a CUNY law student, horrible, never got expelled, got platformed at commencement. So we witnessed in real time what not fighting against Jew hatred can bring. And now she heads up Wool Palestine and is one of the most horrific figures out there. So I do think 10/7 has activated people more, thankfully, and we have to just, really ensure that continues and that people don't get tired. I always say tired is a choice, so we can't choose tired. We have to choose to stay active and awake. Basically, perfect example are our email campaigns. Our email campaigns, we churn out within hours. A lot of times at the bigger orgs, I'll get them a copy of the email campaign, but they just are not able to blast it out to, let's say, their mailing list because they have to go through their marketing department, their PR department, there's just so many steps. As opposed to us, we do make sure that everything is legally sound because we are a 501(c)(3) and we're not going to put our name on something, but we're quick. So we move at lightning speed. That's what I think our really core competency is, moving quickly and trying to unite everybody. That's really what ends Jew hatred does, to fight for civil rights under that realm. But then, for instance, the ADL has great research. They offer good numbers because they deal with, the statistics of Jew hatred and what's coming in, and from one year to the next, what the jump is. And obviously AJC, ADL, the Federation, they have resources beyond. I mean, our budget is a shoestring budget, compared to anything else, but they have resources also to put on huge rallies and events, to take out a permit for Times Square in New York City when they want to bring out it, and we just don't have those resources. So that's what I mean when I say sort of stay in our lane. So we know, we'll tell them, okay, if you're going to do something big, we'll amplify it for you and get our people out as best we can. But you go ahead and you be the lead planner. Not that they're so big on the ground things, but when they have done things like that, or the Washington D.C. rally, because they have the resources to be able to do that. They also, or let's even use Stand With Us as an example. Stand With Us is amazing. Stand With Us has a very robust educational committee. So we had a meeting last week with Stand With Us and Navi. I don't know if you're familiar with Navi. They're amazing. So Navi and Stand With Us are big in education. Because we're kicking off this End Hate in Education initiative, we want to work with them to garner their expertise, because they have different directors. They're doing teacher training in schools. We don't offer teacher training in schools, but we would like to work with them to help them get into some schools they might not be in. We're a small team, so we don't want to at all purport to be experts in everything. No interest in that, but we do want to bring everybody's expertise, to the table to ensure that the masses, all of the end users, the activists, the individuals can garner the most information possible to do what they need to do.